Marginally later than planned. Hello, how are we? It is Lower League Lingo Live. We might be a little bit later than we said we were going to start, but we usually start at 7. So, beggars can't be choosers. We'll get ourselves into it, shall we? Let's get ourselves right kicked off. It's the second ever Lower League Lingo, and it's live. Hello, once again, welcome. It is brilliant to have you here. As you can see, we have our usual esteemed panel of joyous friends and foes, depending on who you support, I suppose. But they're all here, and we're looking forward to another cracking evening of discussing all things lower league. To my left, I have Mr. John Foster. How are you, sir? Are you okay?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, Barry. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. Much happier now we're live and ready to go. So whatever mistakes I've made have now happened, and we will just have to live with them. And just below us, we've got the mighty Gaza. How you doing, sir? Everything okay?
I'm good, pal. Good to be back.
It is good to be back. You are not wrong. And I've been enjoying these. So hopefully, have the rest of you that have been watching as well. And indeed those taking part. So let's get started, I suppose, shall we? Again, big welcome if you are watching live. If you're not watching live, don't worry. Like, that's how YouTube works. You just watch it when you like, really. We just live. It makes it easier for the recording, to be fair. There's nothing special about it. But if you do write something, we might throw it up. You never know. Right, here we are. Let's get ourselves started. So we are going to be kicking off today, as ever, with the WNL Northern Premier, the new Buckshead Stadium. Where it wasn't the Bucks at all. It was the Wolves that were playing in the Buckshead Stadium, and they won 2-0. And reporting live at the scene for us was Mr. John Foster. How you doing, sir? Tell us all about Wolves and Rugby Borough.
Yeah, Wolves 2, Rugby Borough 0. I think if you thought Rugby was pushing for promotion this season, then I think after that result, I think you'd think that Wolves are as well. Fantastic result for Wolves. Fantastic attendance as well. You've got that on the screen, 526. That's the biggest attendance that they've had so far this season. Bearing in mind that they've had Forest down there, Stoke, and local rival Stourbridge. That was their biggest one. So some good set of attendances. I think the lowest one this season has been 400 in the league. So yeah, some good attendance levels there. Wolves made 7 changes from their previous game where they played Foiled and won 3-0. So 7 changes going into already a very strong starting 11, plus Becky Anderson, Abby Jenner, Katie Johnson, and Beth Merrick stayed in the starting 11 as well. So very, very strong 11. And yeah, it was an outstanding performance, which has now put Wolves 1 point below Forest. Forest are obviously first. So that's a win now for Wolves against Burnley and Forest. So I think if you're one of these people like myself who didn't think Wolves was going to be in contention this season, I think you have to start maybe admitting that you might actually be wrong. Obviously, still early days, but it's not that early. I think after this amount of games, it's worthy of mentioning. Rugby slipped down to 4th after that defeat, but they do have Stourbridge on the weekend. As for the game itself, half time it was goalless, and then Rugby had a chance, but it was Wolves who opened the scoring within about 10 minutes of that first half. I think it was around about the 57th minute. Charlotte Greengrass. So it was Destiny Toussaint down the right hand side, put a back post cross in, and it was Charlotte who got the goal. She also scored about 20 minutes later to make it 2-0. So a fantastic roar of the crowd, as you can imagine. Obviously, the attendance was huge, but that game itself was amazing. I'm a big fan of Lee Birch, the rugby manager. He just mentioned that after the game that they just didn't create enough, and said that they just lacked creativity and just didn't test the Wolves goalkeeper. Bearing in mind the amount of goals that Rugby have put in this year so far, it's a little surprising. But yeah, well done to Wolves. Dan McNamara, the Wolves manager, said that he was training throughout the week about one-on-one situations and I suppose winning their individual duels, and it's certainly paid off for them. So next game for Wolves is West Bromwich Albion in the Cup at the Hawthorns. So I'm sure that they'll look forward to that one after that result on the weekend.
Yeah, you would think so. And like you say, that is a big result up at the top end of the Northern Premier there. And again, like you say, both sides very, very tightly packed together there. But I think if this was in tennis terms, we would now be saying advantage Wolves on that one. So where are we going next, boys and girls? Let's have a look what's behind box number 2. We're staying in the Northern Premier. What a surprise that is. If you haven't noticed already, it's a very WNL heavy day today. So if you come in from one of our regional leagues and you were hoping that maybe, I mean, to be fair, if you come in thinking one of your teams is going to get mentioned from those, that you haven't read the thumbnail, because we tell you all 6 matches that we're going to talk about. So you know in advance, so you don't get. But there we go. But if you are here, hello, lovely to have you. This one is, of course, West Bromwich Albion against Hull. And I believe that was the choice of the mighty Gareth down below, who will tell us all about why this game particularly piqued his interest.
Yes. Just to note, first of all, it was Hull against West Brom. So Hull ran out 2-1 winners, with the goal scorers things being for the right goals. It's just the badges the wrong way around. But Barry's a very busy guy, so we'll let that one slide.
Was it at Hull?
It was at Hull. But don't worry, it's all good. These shows are live and it's live TV, and these things happen.
And I did
Hull
get the
ran out
score the
2-1
right way
winners
around. So that's all.
Say again.
I did get the score the right way around.
Yeah, the scorer is the right way around. The scorer is the right way around. Everything else, just the badges. So yeah, Hull ran out 2-1 winners against West Brom. We've spoken previously on this show about those sides in and around the bottom: Sporting Calcer, Halifax, Stourbridge, Hull. I think it might have been last week, actually, as soon as last week, where I said that those sides around the bottom can't just rely on picking up points against each other. They need to be looking elsewhere to sneak a win or two, and Hull provide that straight away at the first chance of asking by getting a win against West Brom. You know, West Brom are a mid-table side. They're probably not a side that's going to push kind of towards the top end, those 3-4 bigger teams. But they're definitely a side that will be looking to finish above Hull City in the table. So for Hull to go there and pick up the win as well, is a fantastic result for them. It means that they have now won 3 games this season, Hull, which we're looking at a table where 1 or 2 more wins and that could be them safe. So there's important games to come for them. But as we approach, it seems mad to say this in October, but we are not far away from the midway point of the season. They're now 8 points clear of Halifax. They've played a game more, 6 points clear of Stourbridge, so that they are pulling away from that bottom 3. I'm sure if you ask any manager in the league whether they would rather have points on the board or a game in hand, I'm sure they'll all take points on the board. So for them to be pulling away a sizable gap from those sides towards the bottom end, they will absolutely be loving that. And again, it seems really early to say this in October, but this win is a big step towards safety for Hull. And it's starting to look like Stourbridge, Calcer, Halifax will be the ones that are fighting for it. But that being said, a big win for one of them against Hull City, and it starts to turn the tables. So a really interesting result that makes that relegation battle and that mid-table scrap really interesting. Hull are, like I say, 8 points rather clear of Halifax. They are 8 points. They're only 7 points rather behind Rugby Borough in 4th. So they are very much in that mid-table now, which I'm sure if you'd offered Hull that at the start of the season, come the end of the season, we'd be happy to take a mid-table sort of finish. Even though they are 8th, they would absolutely take that to snap the hands off, I think. So yeah, interesting to see where this one develops. A great result for them, and they'll be looking to kick on and pick up some more wins.
No, absolutely, you are not wrong. So yeah, apologies, Hull fans and West Brom fans, if you turn that on and went, hang on a minute, did we win? No, you didn't. Sorry about that. But there you go. Like you said, listen, I'm a very busy boy. That is absolutely true, and I'd like you all to remember that, purely because for the last 7 weeks on this show, I have slaved away at making the league tables, doing all of that sort of thing. I had 60 minutes today, boys. That was all I had. And all of my time was taken up on the slides that we have done. There was no way I could do the leagues in the manner that I would like to. So, apologies. This is not our usual way of showing you it. But this is how the league looks at the moment, just in case you're interested, so you can see whereabouts they are. You've got a rough idea of what's going on, but I will take you through it. As we said, Nottingham Forest top 20 points, a point ahead of both Burnley and Wolverhampton Wanderers on the same number of games, and then a further 4 points clear of Rugby Borough and Liverpool Feds. They've all got 8 games, 4 points between them. Then we have a little bit of a middling. Stoke City sit there on 13 points, but with a game in hand, so they could pull back Rugby Borough and Liverpool Feds. You've then got West Bromwich Albion, Hull City and Derby County, all feeling pretty good. And as Gareth has mentioned already, Stourbridge, currently the best of the bottom 3, with Halifax and Sporting Calcer on 1 point, and Sporting Calcer still looking for their first point of the season so far. So it's kind of how it's looking. It's definitely warming up. We are about over a third of the way through the season now, so you do start to see what end of the table you're going to be fighting for, and we kind of have that now. So very interesting. Looking forward to seeing which team is going to challenge Nottingham Forest there. So we move to the Southern Premier now, and I'm afraid you're going to hear my voice for the next few minutes because I've, as I tend to do sometimes, picked 2 from the same league. And it's because as I was looking through the fixtures, the 2 fixtures that I've chosen just massively impacted what's going on in terms of the relegation battle. So here you can see 2 rather interesting clubs for many different reasons. Of course, you've got Lewis FC, who are, I suppose, renowned for the way in which they have championed equality across their football club. So they have the Lewis men, they have the Lewis women, equal budgets, equal playing fees, all of those sorts of things. And I really like that. I like the model. It's owned by the fans and the people that are around the club. It's not just like a cohort of businessmen or women, for example. So lots going on there within that one. As you can see, Lewis FC got a good win against Plymouth Argyle. They both got 2 things on either side. They will be a little bit disappointed, will Plymouth, that the 2 things they got on their side was 2 yellow cards. Whereas for Lewis, it was Samantha Quayle with a nice early goal. And I'm not going to lie, if you're Lewis at the moment, struggling down the bottom as they have been, you 100% want to be getting your team to go out and say, get an early goal, settle us down, give us the opportunity to play football. It's exactly what they've done in front of their own fans. 329. John spoke a little bit earlier about the Northern Premier and Wolves getting the highest attendance that they've had this season, getting over 500. But 329 people sat watching your football game is really not too shabby. And it's pretty much par for the course for Lewis, to be fair. They really do tend to try and get people into the stadium, which is great news. And then, of course, you've got Paula Howells with 65 minutes gone, really rubber stamping the tie. So, again, very, very big when you looked at how Lewis have been performing and, of course, how Plymouth Argyle have been performing. Because for them, they're still right at the bottom. So for Lewis, they were, again, there or thereabouts. They're on 6 points before this one, with Plymouth stuck on 3. So for Plymouth, this is a real chance to pull Lewis back into the relegation fight. Instead, Lewis have opened up a 6 point gap between Plymouth Argyle and themselves. So for them, it's a very, very welcome and very helpful point. Still 10 points off of hashtag at the top. So it would be unlikely. It would require sort of a Kevin Keegan style meltdown from somebody at hashtag United there in order to really be having Lewis challenging for the title. But I think, as Gareth says, if they can get a good sort of mid-table finish or push up the table a bit, that would 100% be a positive end to their season. So no surprises for guessing what my next game was, not just because it was on the thumbnail, but because it's the same league, as I said. And this one, again, just blew my mind because there were real relegation battles that were going on. We brought Gwalia United onto the channel not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, I think, and they're up against MK Dons, a side who I've sort of mentioned a few times whilst we've been looking at football in the south at the moment. I mean, MK Dons, they're my Kings Lynn of this season. You know, last season I had a real soft spot for Kings Lynn because they just kept going, just kept fighting, just kept doing everything they were doing, despite the fact that they'd had a really difficult season with a very young squad. MK Dons are in this exact same situation. There was a press release from MK Dons right at the very beginning of the season where they just had about 20 people just not at the club anymore, just left. And it left bare bones, really. And you've got a bunch of girls here who are working incredibly hard to try and represent the club as best as they can. And they're absolutely doing that. But for Gwalia United, this was just a huge result. Corey Mills obviously opening up the scoring, as we saw there. Maisie Miller and then Kira O'Keefe. It was a very late show. Corey Mills just rubbing salt into the wounds, really, in the very dying minutes. But this was huge, again, because of what's happening at the bottom. Milton Keynes Dons are on 1 point at the moment. They've managed one draw so far. And it's starting to get to sink or swim time, as we said. Now, Plymouth will be feeling pretty good because they've still got a game or two in hand. They've got that opportunity to try and fight back. But as Gareth says, you kind of want the points on the board. For MK Dons, no such luck. They've played 8. Gwalia have got the game in hand over them. They're 7 points now, MK Dons, away from safety. Now, yes, they've got AFC Wimbledon there. They've got their 6 points. Cheltenham Town are there. That's right. They've got 6 games played and 8 points. And Cheltenham Town are there with 8 from 8. But it's not a good look, boys. It's really not. And if we take a look at the positions, as you can see there, it's just incredibly difficult for them, I think, because you're looking at a side that I think, I think I have to say now, I can't see a way in which MK Dons survive. I think they will be dropping down to most likely the Division 1 Southeast. And it's early to be calling that. But you're really struggling at the moment to see where these goals are going to come from and where they are. So they're going to kind of need, I think, to go away and rebuild when they have the opportunity to this season and try their best, I think, to get themselves back up. But as anyone who is at this level of football will know, it's very, very easy to go down. It's not so easy to get yourself back up. But I fancy MK Dons to have a good go at doing it. So just as a quick run through for your league, hashtag United, 19 points right at the very top with 8 games played. Oxford United, 3 points behind them on 16, same games played. You've got Ipswich Town, though, with 2 games in hand, as well as Watford and Exeter, all having 2 games in hand above those teams above them. Ipswich with 14 points, so could go top by a point if they win them both. Watford on 11 points, so can only go second as it stands, and Exeter obviously would level up with Oxford United if they won both of theirs. Billericay Town in 6th with 7 games played, also on 10 points, and you then go down to your Lewis Wimbledon, as we have already discussed, so I won't repeat myself because you can just rewind if you want to hear what I just said. So there we are. We are going to give me a chance to come up for breath, which would be absolutely wonderful. And it's the first time that we are highlighting on this illustrious channel Doncaster Rover Bells. And I was very impressed, actually, that we're doing this because I had to go and find the badge. And at first, when I found this badge, I thought somebody was having a laugh with me because I've not seen a badge this shape before. So it's really quite something, quite like it. But the oldest women's football team that I know of, for sure, certainly one of the most successful oldest teams that I know, for sure. But are they as old as Norton and Stockton Ancients? Because, we know as being teachers, Gaza, ancient usually means like, back in the Grecian times or perhaps the Mayans. So who's older? Doncaster over Bells, Norton and Stockton Ancients. And why have you picked this game? Because it's certainly not about history.
Well, I mean, Norton and Stockton Ancients were formed in 1959, so I'm assuming it's going to be Doncaster. Um,
That's definitely modern
the reason I
history
picked
in
this
my
game,
mind.
yeah, the reason I picked this game is similar to the reason I picked Hull, and that is I've mentioned before that Norton had previously been a club that I wouldn't say they languish in the bottom, but they're usually a lower mid table, excuse me, kind of club. Whereas they've kind of put some wins together over the last kind of month or so, and now with this win over Doncaster Rovers, find themselves in the mid table. They're 3 points off Middlesbrough at the top of the table. I know you'll run through the table shortly, but there are 3 points that separate 1 to 6 in the Division One North. So that is astonishing. And Doncaster are, like you say, they're a club with a lot of history. Former top flight club, one of the top clubs in the country. They are currently only outside of the relegation zone on goal difference, and they have played 2 games more than York City. So it's looking like a rough time for them. Um, AFC filed down there as well. They've made the option to change managers this week. They're yet to appoint a replacement, but their 2 co-managers were relieved of their duties this week. So, it's dicey for Doncaster at the moment. They moved from the Division One Midlands at the beginning of last season. And so we're a little bit of an unknown entity. It's always a bit tricky when there's lateral movement. You don't really know what to expect. But I don't think they expected to be in a relegation battle for a club with such history, such kind of prestige within the game. To be down there isn't where they want to be. But you know what? Credit to Norton. They picked up some really strong wins recently. Um, this combined with wins over Durham Sestria, AFC Fylde. Um, they beat Doncaster after extra time in the cup earlier on this season. So they're putting that's 3 wins on the trot in the league now for Norton. Considering that before then they had not picked up a win. So all of their wins coming up one after another, and it's really dragged them out of that battle. So no, they're looking in a good place. Will they push on and trouble the top? I genuinely don't know. I think anything could happen with the way that this league is panning out at the moment. But definitely to win 3 on the bounce and really pull yourself into mid-table is exactly the kind of run that can define a season, because I'm sure we will all agree. Momentum at this level is so key. You get that wind in your sails, and you can push on. It can totally change your season. You get that stuffing knocked out of you, to go with another cliche, and it can completely derail your season in the opposite manner. So, Doncaster will be looking for a change in their fortunes, and Norton will be looking to take that momentum on to their next game.
Yeah. I mean, John the other day introduced a little bit of a topic that we ended up having not a mini debate, but certainly an opinion on. And I'm intrigued actually, because Stevenage are about to go and play Barking in the FA Cup, who are a side who have moved sideways. They've had to go from the WFL, the Eastern region, to the London and South East regional. You just mentioned the same thing happening here with Doncaster over Bells. And I'm just very intrigued as to what your thoughts are with how that happens. We know why it happens. Obviously, it's to make sure that everything stays regionalised and you're not having to travel ridiculous journey times. But in terms of the integrity of the competition, rather than just thinking about the obvious pros and cons about distance to travel, what do you make of that? Because you have a whole league that you're used to, but you could have 2, 3, 4 teams sort of shuffled out of it. You're going to get that anyway through promotion relegation. But I was just very intrigued about your thoughts on the sideways shuffle.
Yeah, I think it's something. It's a necessary evil. I think Sheffield have been moved around as well. Sheffield FC have been moved around. Barnsley women, rather than Barnsley FC women, got moved laterally from Division 1 North to Division 1 Midlands for this season. They're currently mid-table, beating sides above them. Sorry, beating sides below them, losing against sides above them. So yeah, it's a necessary evil. I think the tricky part for um, the managers and the players is you so often just know players around you. You kind of know what you're going to get from certain players, from certain clubs, from certain managers. You kind of build up those contacts. You've got footage of how teams play, and so I think in terms of the day to day of the management and preparing a side can be really tricky because you suddenly don't have that. Um, and even if you as a even if kind of us from the regional leagues were to be promoted into the national league, well, there's still teams there that you've played. There's still teams there that you've come across. There'll still be players that you know and recognise. So I think that is potentially the challenge. Is just your knowledge base just completely has to change, and that can take a bit of time to get up to speed as well. Um, I
Okay.
think the travel largely, sometimes it can stitch up some of the regional teams. To use the men's game, for example, I know Kings Lynn are in the National League North, and so sometimes they have to go on an away trip to Fylde or to Blythe in the northeast from the east of England, and that can be a bit of a nightmare. But it'd be equally as nightmarish for Kings Lynn to go to Truro, if
Yeah.
not more so. So I think the travel is swings and roundabouts. It evens itself out. um, I just think it's the unexpected. You suddenly don't know what to expect from a league,
Yeah.
whereas the season before you've played everybody twice. You have a rough idea what to expect. There's only a couple of new teams coming in terms of promotion relegation. They may be teams you played previously and know about them. Whereas if you move laterally, well, suddenly that's 10 new teams you need to get to know.
Yeah. No, very true. Fair enough. I was just very intrigued as to what your thoughts might be on that. Here we are with the league table as we promised, and you can see how Peterborough United sat at the very top. That is right, isn't it? I feel like I've gone on to the wrong one. That's Division
No,
One
you're on
Midland.
the right one. You're showing the right one. Yeah, yeah. You just said Peterborough United and it's Middlesbrough.
Correct, because I'm showing the wrong one because I've gone on to the Midlands like an absolute fool. Let's try that one again. Middlesbrough top of that table with 14 points, having played 6 games. You've then got lots of teams below them who've played more, which will delight Middlesbrough fans. You've got Leeds United and Chorley with 13, Cheadletown Stingers, what a name, on 12, Huddersfield and the Norton and Stockton Ancients on 11, Stockport with 10, Durham Cheshire with 7, and then of course got Barnsley, Doncaster, Rover Bells, New York City with 6, as mentioned, and Fylde sat there with 4. I'm not feeling as good as they could. John, you've got a lot to pack into a few seconds here, so very good luck to you. Coronation Park, it finished 4-3 to the Posh. Talk us through it in your poshest voice. Off you go.
Well, you guys have spoken a lot about the relegation battle, so I'm glad to lift the mood and talk about the top of the table. If you have a look at what Peterborough have achieved over the last 3 years, they've been in the top 4 2 years ago, top 4 last year. I think 8 games in to this season, they're not top 4 anymore. In my opinion, they're top 2. If you finish above Peterborough, I feel that you're going to win this league. It's a very significant win on Sunday for them. And not only do they do well in the league, they've only dropped points in 1 game out of those 8 games, and that was a draw against Loughborough, probably their biggest rival. But they've also won both of their cup games as well. So I feel bad that I haven't mentioned them sooner in the 7 or 8 episodes that we've done in this, but I'll certainly be mentioning them more going forward. I think now's the right time to do that as well. Yeah, Notts County also improving season on season. So they was only 1 point off the relegation last year, and now even after that defeat on Sunday, they're still sitting in fifth. So they'll be, even though they'll be disappointed that they let this league go, they'll still be happy with how their season's going so far. Just a few words on the goals, because I can see that we are short on time. Notts County went 3-0 up, and then obviously ended up losing 4-3. So the first goal was scored by Barnes in the 8th minute. It was a corner kick, ended up as a header and went in. The second one was a mistake at the back by the Posh, playing out from the back, and Russell managed to get that goal within 19 minutes. A quick counter attack from Notts County. Basically, Posh gave it away in Notts County's half, and then a ball over the top, and it went 3-0. And I think at that point, Peterborough was thinking that these were all our own mistakes here. But they managed to get one back before half time from the left hand side, cut in, scored with a right foot, Wilshaw on the 42nd minute. Second half, it was a free kick, back post, a header from Driscoll King. The equaliser was a penalty from Bennett, and then the 86th minute was a scramble inside the box from Wilshaw. So she got her second. But I think, yeah, fantastic comeback there. And I think, you look at games throughout the season when you're 3-0 down and you're actually pushing for something where every point means something. Maybe if they win that league by 2 points, this will be the game that they'll look back on. And then FA Cup action this weekend for both of those clubs.
Absolutely. Indeed. Well done. So, good job. And Lauren Wilshaw, you would assume that she got player of the match there, having kicked off the comeback and then finished off with the win. So this time, I think we would be right in discussing, there we go, that Peterborough United are top of that table with 22 points, and they are a game ahead of Northampton Town and Leafield Athletic, both on 18, so they can still catch them a little bit, but only be a point behind. Loughborough Lightning with 6 games played on to 16. You've then got Notts County, Bournemouth, St Michael's, Barnsley and Lincoln. County with 12, 3 with 10. Sutton Coldfield Town with 6. Solihull Moles on 4. Worcester City with 3. Lincoln City bottom, no points. And of course, a partridge in a pear tree. Done. Okay, that's that bit done. We're going to whiz round with our match to watch. I'm going to go straight in with mine because if you've been an avid watcher of the show, you'll know where I'm going to go with this one, because a couple of weeks ago we had an FA Cup show, and amazingly, I picked 4 teams that had played, and the winners of both of those games ended up being the next round of the FA Cup. So I feel like it's only right. I said I would do it then. So my match to watch for this one is going to be ERWFL, Eastern Region leaders, Royston Town in the FA Cup at home to the mighty Bungay. And I cannot wait to see how they get on. So that's my one. Gaza, what's yours, mate?
I'm going to be a bit shameless, and I'm going to say it's also the FA Cup, but it's going to be Wythenshawe who host Barnsley Women, deciding the Midlands. Reason being, Barnsley mid-table side in the National League, travelling to Wythenshawe, who are flying at the top of the Regional League, coming off a 16-0 win against Bury last weekend. But the real reason I picked it is because of what is happening around the game, and that is that there is a collection happening for a local food bank where players and coaches and spectators are being encouraged to bring with them some items so that we can give back to our community.
Very good, very worthy cause.
Also, slightly footballing reason as well. Barnsley, in the same round of the Cup last year, beat Wythenshawe to knock them out. So it is a rematch in the third qualifying round. So that, combined with the collection for the food bank, I think makes it worthy of attention.
Absolutely. Not kidding. John, it's up to you. Finish us off. Where are your beady eyes going to be pointing?
Also, the FA Cup, Leafield, who are currently third in Tier 3, are against Lye, who are currently Leafield third in Tier 4, Lye, who are third in Tier 5. but Lie have got quite a few games in hand in Tier 5, so that you could argue that they're the best team in Tier 5 currently. So a potential upset on the cards there, perhaps.
Absolutely. There we go, gang. We have done it. It's been superb. Sounds like next week's going to be an FA Cup special once again. Do you know what? I'm here for it. I can't wait. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Lower League Lingo. That's Gareth. That's John. I'm Barry, and we're off. See you later.